Good morning. Well, as we start this morning, I know you all came in through a little wind and rain, but people across our own country and the world are experiencing much worse, from hurricanes that are striking the Caribbean and today our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico, to the deadly earthquake in Mexico, to wildfires, flooding, and the images we've seemed to see on a daily basis on the news are truly horrifying. So I want to take a brief moment on behalf of the Greater Boston Chamber and the business community, entire city of Boston, to send our prayers and thoughts and condolences to the many people who are dealing with and recovering from some of the most horrendous natural disasters we've seen in our lifetime. And I want to express how proud I am of our guest speaker today and our city who have stepped up to support the cities, the states, the countries that needed our help over the past few weeks. And I know many of you, if not all of you in the audience, have contributed in some way. So let's keep doing that to make a difference in these recovery efforts, and let's continue to lend our voices to the conversations around protecting our environment for future generations. Thank you. With that said, we're excited to be here this morning, jumping back into our regularly scheduled programming after a short summer break. It's an exciting time of the year in general around Boston, with the Patriots starting up, the Red Sox looking ready to play baseball in October, the Bruins and the Celtics preparing to open their seasons, and there's, I think, a mayoral election that our speaker will certainly have some interest in coming up. So we couldn't be more excited to kick off our fall program with a very special guest, City of Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. I want to thank the mayor for making the time to be here today and for his continued engagement and support for the Greater Boston business community. A year ago, we were all abuzz about GE, and since we've hosted the mayor's annual forum last year, Boston has had another great year of business wins, including the recent news that PTC and Alexion Pharma will move to Boston. And I know that we have some representatives from both of those companies here today. Welcome to Boston. And thanks to all the tremendous work from all of our elected officials, but in particular Mayor Walsh and the City of Boston, who continue to lead this city by making it a major draw for businesses looking to grow, to innovate, and to succeed. I'm sure we're all looking forward to hearing Mayor Walsh's thoughts on how we can stay focused on the important issues needed to keep Boston economically competitive and the best place to live, to work, and to do business. Before we get started, I want to recognize a few people who've joined us today, starting with a welcome and a thank you to the mayor's partner. Please join me in welcoming the First Lady of the City of Boston, Laurie Higgins. I'd also like to recognize the many members of the mayor's cabinet and management team who are here today. Please stand up. I can't name you all. Where are you? Mayor's cabinet, stand up. Don't be shy over here. Thank you all for being here and for your outstanding work executing the vision of the mayor to the benefit of our city. I also want to, within that group, give a special chamber welcome to Mayor Walsh's new Chief of Staff and former CFO, David Sweeney. David, welcome to the Chief of Staff's Club. We do have a support group, and there's a recovery program for when your term ends that I can fill you in on. And a special thank you to Chief of Economic Development, John Barros, who will be staying after this breakfast to meet with some of our Chamber, City Awake young professionals who are in our audience today, and John has been kind enough to be willing to have a discussion with some of the young professionals among you about the mayor's remarks and some of the content of that. So thank you, John, for being willing to do that. And I see a few people out there that are in my age bracket who might be thinking of sneaking in, and we will have a guard at the door, so neither you or I are invited. I want to thank the many members of our diplomatic community who are here in attendance as well. We have the members of the consulates of Israel, Mexico, and the Netherlands. Welcome to you this morning. And we have two city councilors that I know of, both neighbors, one a very direct neighbor, Councilor Asabi George and Councilor Michael Flaherty. Welcome. District Attorney Dan Conley is with us this morning. Thank you, Dan, for being here. Our Transportation Secretary, Stephanie Pollack. Tom Glenn at Massport, who most people know is running the airport, who last week kicked off a major dredging project in Boston Harbor, which will lead to increasing business opportunities down in the waterfront. Tom, thank you for being here. Brian Golden from the Boston Planning and Development Agency. Brian, thank you for being here. And last but not least, please give a warm Boston welcome and all the support that you can muster to new MBTA General Manager Luis Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez, welcome to Boston, and we have a recovery group for former T general managers as well. Along with this morning's event, we have some excellent programs lined up for the fall, including a forum on legalized cannabis and building a successful new industry, and a discussion of business opportunities that will emerge in that industry. That forum will take place on Friday at the Chamber offices. A Women's Network breakfast with Sue Siegel, CEO of GE Ventures. Our upcoming Government Affairs Forum, sponsored by Bank of America, will feature Congressman Richard Neal in October and Senator Elizabeth Warren in November. Our upcoming Executive Forum, sponsored by the University of Massachusetts, will feature Stephen Smith of LL Bean, as well as one featuring Stephen Wynn of Wynn Resorts with an update on the casino development. Please visit us online at bostonchamber.com for more information about those and to register. And before we begin, let me start by thanking our long-standing partner in this Government Affairs series, Bank of America. Thank you to Bank of America for all that you do, not just in support of the Chamber, but communities throughout Boston and New England. Miceal, you and your team are a tremendous asset to us, but more importantly to the greater Boston business community. Thank you for this partnership. Before asking Miceal to come up to introduce our speaker, I also want to thank WBUR and NBC Comcast for helping us reach a wider audience today, and we say hi to our online audience this morning, watching a live stream of this forum on necn.com and nbcboston.com. Welcome to our guests watching online. With that, I'd like to welcome Massachusetts President of Bank of America, Miceal Chamberlain, to the podium to introduce Mayor Walsh.
Thanks, Jim, for the very kind introduction, and good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to have the honor to be able to introduce today's special guest speaker, our Mayor, Martin J. Walsh. Mayor Walsh's vision is of a thriving, healthy, and innovative Boston, a city with equality and opportunity for all. Since taking office in January of 2014, Mayor Walsh has focused on strengthening Boston schools, and he's led Boston to the forefront of the global innovation economy by attracting industry-leading private sector employers, upgrading the city's digital infrastructure, and using technology to transform government services. He's the founding vice chair of the Cities of Opportunities Task Force at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, elevating the national conversation on income inequality. Before taking office, Mayor Walsh served in the Massachusetts House of Representatives, where he was a leader on job creation and worker protections, substance abuse, mental health and homelessness, K-12 education, and civil rights, as well as playing a key role in defending Massachusetts' pioneering stance on marriage equality. Bank of America is proud to partner with the mayor on a range of key issues, from economic equity through education and jobs, to neighborhood revitalization, and meeting critical needs of individuals and families so every Bostonian has access to opportunity and resources to achieve success. We're thankful for his ongoing support of and partnership with the greater Boston business community and appreciate that he makes time out of his very busy schedule to make this address every year. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our Mayor, Marty Walsh.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, John. Thank you very much. Now sit down and enjoy your breakfast. I want to thank you, Miceal, for that introduction. I also want to thank you for the great work that you do in our city. I want to thank Jimmy Rooney as well for all the support that you've shown me and this city over the last couple of years as this role, but also your previous role at the convention center. So thank you, Jimmy. It's a pleasure to be here with the Chamber this year for the 4th year in a row. It's been exciting 4 years, not only for myself, but for all of my partners in government. I'd like to especially thank the members of the Boston City Council who are here today. It's truly been gratifying work with all the people of Boston, including everyone in this room, the most extraordinary period of our city's history. We're doing something right because people want to live here. We've added 30,000 new residences. We've responded to a historic housing shortage by getting 22,000 homes into construction, including 8,700 homes for low and moderate income families. The Boston Public Schools graduation rate is at an all-time high. And we've earned the perfect AAA bond rating for 4 years in a row, and that's the first time in the city's history that that's been done. Businesses have thrived, companies are growing, startups have bloomed, and new employers are flocking here to our city. Most recently, as Jimmy mentioned earlier, I'm pleased to welcome PTC and Alexion, who brings a combined 1,400 new jobs to the South Boston waterfront. In all, we've built over 12 million square feet of new commercial space. We've added more than 60,000 new jobs. We cut the annual unemployment rate from 6.1% to 3.4% last year. And I want to thank every single employer in our city for your role in Boston's success. And I want to share some new data as well. The year before I took office, unemployment in Dorchester, Roxbury, and Mattapan was in double digits. By last year, it was down to 6%. More people are working in every single neighborhood in our city. And that's something that our city can and should be proud of. That's the good news. But that's not the full story. Inequality, as Miceal talked about earlier, I chair the National Task Force on Inequality, is a national challenge. We can't and won't solve it by ourselves, but we can show a way forward. We can fight to be a Boston for everyone, a city where every child gets the start that they need and deserve. Every worker can find a good job and opportunities. Every business can get a fair shake, and every neighborhood can enjoy a great quality of life we love about our city. A Boston for everyone is the right thing to do. And it's also the smart thing to do to keep our economy strong. In Boston, we've proven that leading with our values gets results. We believe in education. It's the reason for our talented workforce, our leadership in science and medicine, and our policies like free community college. We believe in the environment, a clean harbor, a greenway, and a goal we set this year to be carbon neutral by 2050. These things take our quality of life to a whole new level. We believe in equal rights. I fought for marriage equality in the legislature because it was the right thing to do. But that stand also brought untold talent and goodwill to our economy. We're a welcoming global city. 28% of our residents are foreign-born, and nearly 50% are first generation like me. And I will always stand with our immigrant community. We're a city that knows strong labor rights make more productive workers and more confident consumers. That's what was built our middle class. And we're a city that believes when women succeed, we all succeed. We lead the nation in promoting pay equity for women in leadership. By the way, she couldn't be here with us today, but I want to congratulate Mary Ann Harrison, the new CEO of John Hancock. She's the first woman to hold that important role. We believe in a Boston for everyone. It's the reason for our success. And it's the goal we heard loud and clear from residents when we drafted our Imagine Boston 2030 plan, our first citywide plan in over half a century. The people of Boston gave us a mandate for inclusive growth, a Boston for everyone. I'm going to talk this morning about how we're building that Boston today, tomorrow, and over the next 4 years. I want to start with climate change. We've been ranked the most energy-efficient city in America for the last 4 consecutive years. And we led the change to defend the Paris Agreement when the White House turned its back. Our reasons are clear. Our reasons are clear. We saw the devastation in Houston. We saw the scenes from Florida. And we know it could happen here. We have a duty to protect our city today and for future generations. That means we must take action locally and work together globally. This morning, I can announce 2 steps. First, we're going to begin with creating a landmark green space on the Boston's waterfront in a series of connected parks at 4 Point Channel, designed to protect us from storm surge and sea level rise. These parks will not only protect 4 Point, but they will also protect downtown, Chinatown, and South Boston. They will foster new possibilities for growth from the South Station to Whitehead Circle. There will be a new jewel in our park system, accessible by public transit and a Boston for everyone. And I want to thank the trustees of the reservation for their research. And I look forward to working with the community and all of our nonprofit partners on a more resilient city and a more welcoming waterfront. And climate change is not an issue that a city can solve by itself. But our leadership can be far-reaching. So I can announce today that next summer, Boston will host the International Climate Summit with cities from across America and around the world. We're not only going to make our city stronger, we're going to rally our nation and our world to meet these fundamental challenges. I want to talk next about housing. If you're an employer, the biggest challenge to talent recruitment and talent retention that you face is housing. We've worked every day to meet those challenges. Our housing plan set an unprecedented target of 53,000 units in our city by the year 2030. We put in place a more transparent development process, city investments in city land for affordable housing, a stronger inclusionary development policy, new college dorms, new senior housing. With 22,000 units, I'm proud to say we're ahead of the pace to meet our housing goal. And those units are having the right effect. They've helped stabilize rents in existing homes, and we have bold plans to keep that momentum going. In the years ahead, we're going to create new affordable housing using the Community Preservation Act. We will turn the proceeds from Winthrop Square Garage into hundreds of new low-income units in South Boston, East Boston, and Chinatown. And in addition, we will rebuild our biggest public housing developments into mixed-income communities that will protect and upgrade thousands of low-income units in Jamaica Plain, in Charlestown, and South Boston. And I can also announce today 2 new supports for our residences. We will increase the amount we provide to qualified first-time home buyers through the Boston Home Center to reflect the increased home prices. And for our seniors, we are piloting a home share network that safely matches senior homeowners with graduate student tenants. Seniors will get the help they need to keep their house maintained, and the students will get discounted rents. We can't do this work alone. We have committed creative partners in the nonprofits and private sectors. And I want to thank Related Bill for their work on the Beverly. It's the first time an all-affordable building for middle-class housing in downtown Boston. And I invite every developer to join us in creating more homes at price points that work for more families. To help us in this work, I will push for passage of a bipartisan bill already introduced in the United States Senate that would expand low-income housing tax credits. It will empower American communities to meet our housing needs. Getting from good jobs to good homes takes good transportation. It's fundamental to our economic growth. But getting to work in Boston can be a challenge. I'm sure most people in this room will agree. We've taken steps to relieve congestion and increase safety. We've installed more efficient parking meters. We've lowered the default speed limit. We've improved signal timing. And we are currently revitalizing crosswalks and lane markings in the entire city. We're going to keep improving Boston's streets. But the heart of our solution has to be public transportation. Boston contributes $85 million annually to the MBTA, more than all the other cities and towns combined. That's in addition to what our residents and employers pay in fares. I have two proposals to help move us forward. The first is a pilot for increased train frequency on the Fairmont line. 1/5 of Boston's population lives along this 9-mile stretch, and 83% of those folks are Black or Latino. They deserve better service. And from an economic perspective, they're an underutilized workforce in our city that we need to activate. The city is investing in neighborhoods along the line, such as Uplands Corner. But we also need to continue the state's partnership to improve the service. I want to thank the governor and the MBTA for investing in repairs and moving forward on plans for upgraded cars on the red line and orange lines. And that's certainly going to help. But at this point, it seems like we're stuck between stations. So my second point is that we must get past this privatization issue and bring real resources to the table and move the MBTA forward. I understand there's a plan for 2040. Long-term planning is important. The city certainly is doing plenty of it ourselves. But we are working right now to attract global employers to our 21st century city. Boston can't wait 23 years. Roxbury, Mattapan, and Hyde Park can't wait. The businesses in this room can't wait. It's not just about Boston's needs. Growing our statewide economy depends on a 21st century transit in the urban core. I am proud of the success that our students, teachers, and principals and staff in our schools are achieving. We have more students learning in high-quality pre-kindergarten, more Level 1 and Level 2 schools, more students graduating from our high schools, more going to college and completing college in our Boston Public Schools than ever before. But we can't declare victory until every child gets the opportunity and the supports they need, not just to graduate, but to be ready to thrive as workers, innovators, and lifelong learners in our changing world. That's why this fall, with our partners at the Boston Opportunity Agenda and Success Boston, we are launching a citywide college, career, and life readiness framework. We're calling on every public school, charter school, private school to move towards a common definition of readiness and a robust set of supports to help students achieve it. Together, we'll create a promise to students, colleges, and employers that every high school degree is a real stepping stone to the next level. I'm asking employers to play your part, help connect learning in our schools to careers of today and tomorrow. For example, this February vacation, we will partner with Red Hat Software to pilot a STEM careers bootcamp for students at the Dearborn STEM Academy. It will qualify them for summer jobs at tech firms, footholds on careers of tomorrow. The truth is that we can't start early enough. When it comes to closing the opportunity gap, that's why we've increased access to high-quality pre-kindergarten seats by 25% in 4 years. It's a proven equalizer. But to achieve true equality, we need help. And we have a clear and achievable solution. Tourism taxes collected in Boston create an annual surplus in the Convention Center Fund. Our bill would direct those funds to create high-quality pre-kindergarten seats for all of the children of Boston. I asked my former colleagues in the state legislature to make this a priority. Boston set the standard for quality in pre-kindergarten. We now should work together to set the standard for access as well. Education is the foundation, but the fight against inequality and the jobs of strengthening our workforce must reach far beyond our classrooms. A new report shows that if national trends continue, median wealth for Black and Latino families in America will fall to 0 by the middle of this century. That's a stunning statistic, and it's a wake-up call for the future of our economy. It's why we have focused so much of our policy work on economic mobility. We're providing the supports that workers and their families need to overcome barriers to get ahead. Free college savings accounts and free community college. Summer jobs for teens and apprentices for adults. Financial coaching and small business supports. This fall, we're going to launch an economic mobility lab to improve these supports and get them to the people who need them and when they need them. We'll add new programs like job training for veterans recovering from PTSD and career pathways from Boston Public School high schools into city agencies. And I'm pleased to announce that we are expanding eligibility for our free community college program. Instead of just talking about inequality, we are reaching for solutions, real solutions for real people. People like Jasmine Vigo. A few years ago, Jasmine got out of an abusive relationship. That takes a lot of courage. But she found herself facing another challenge. She was a single mom making $12 an hour in a part-time job. You can do the math. Then she heard about a program called Project Hope. It's a job training nonprofit on Dudley Street that helps women meet the challenges like hers. They made sure she had transportation and the child care that she needed. Jasmine said it was like having a whole new family. After graduating, she got a job handling insurance claims full-time at over $18 an hour with benefits, a retirement plan, weekends off with her kids. It's still tough for her to make ends meet with her family, but she has gained a career path and she has gained hope. That's a great story. It's a story about a resilient, hardworking Boston mother and the unsung heroes at the nonprofits. It's also a story of Boston's growth. Jasmine's slot at Project Hope was funded by the Neighborhood Jobs Trust, using revenue that comes from development fees. It's one of the many benefits of our new investments in our city. As Boston has grown, its linkage revenue has grown with it by over 50% in 4 years. We are putting these resources to better use than ever before. We collect them, we measure them, and we maximize the impact of every single dollar that we spent. In 3 years, we've directed nearly $11 million to train over 2,600 low-income residents for careers in the high-tech growth sectors. Most got a job right away with a living wage and a career path. I want to thank everyone in this room who helped contribute to this growth. And I want to thank the dedicated women and men who fight to bring opportunities to every corner of our city, including women like Jasmine, Sister Margaret Leonard, who is the founder of Project Hope, and Trin Nguyen, our Director of Workforce Development. These remarkable women are here with us today. Please stand up and let's give them a hand. Growth does create new opportunities in our city, and we can spread these opportunities to everyone, but we can't do it alone. We need the private sector as our partners in this work, not just to grow the pie, but to get more people a seat at the table. So I invite you, the employers, to work with us on hiring more residents out of our neighborhoods. We are growing the pathway that workers need to be strong candidates. We need more employers willing to extend these pathways into more workplaces. We want to repeat Jasmine's story many times over, because a strong economy depends on a secure workforce. It's the right thing to do, and it's the smart thing to do. And I'm committed to helping every business that wants to start here, grow here, and move on here. That's why Boston will be submitting a proposal to be Amazon's East Coast home. My team has studied this opportunity closely. We see a company ready to invest $5 billion. We see a company looking to grow 50,000 new good jobs. We see a company using technology to change the world. We are the city that is ready to shape that change and meet this challenge. With our housing plan, with our talented workforce, with our culture of innovation, our bid will reflect the values that drive our success. That's the city we invite Amazon and every employer to be part of. 4 years of speaking at this chamber have taught me something. When I ask for help here, I know that I get results. I called on more creative building design, and developers stepped up. I asked for help to reimagine the Adopt a School program, and we did, with Invest BPS bringing more companies into our schools than ever before. Early on, I asked you to join our summer jobs program, and we grew it by 18%, adding nearly 576 new private sector jobs, thanks to many of the employers in this room. You are changing people's lives. A year ago, I challenged you to get our city to get serious about uprooting systemic racism. I want to thank the Chamber for supporting our citywide dialogues on race, and I want to thank the Chamber, along with Eastern Bank, for leading a movement to grow opportunities for businesses owned by people of color. We are proving at a time of national division, when we work together and move our city forward, we can do it. But there's much work left to be done to build Boston for everybody. I want to close by sharing a powerful way we can recommit to our highest values. As the 50th anniversary of his death approaches, I can announce that Boston is finally going to build a fitting memorial to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the city he once called his second home. We will work with philanthropist Paul English, the African American community, and the people of Boston. Together, we will identify a design, a site that will honor this towering figure of history and never let us forget his call to racial equality and economic justice. During his time here in Boston, he embodied the best of our values. He completed his education here. He built his community here and met his wife here. He served the people here at the 12th Baptist Church in Roxbury. Pastor Arthur Gerald from the 12th Baptist is with us. Pastor Gerald, please stand up. I just want to take a minute to talk about Pastor Gerald. Over the last 3 years, Pastor Gerald, on Fridays in the summertime, leads a peace walk through Warren Gardens with people from his community. He answered the call, and he's out there. He walks the walk in the streets. And I want to thank the pastor for all his great work in the city of Boston, and to let the pastor know that his congregation will be at the heart of this project. When Dr. King returned to Boston in 1965, he stood at the Parkman Bandstand in the Boston Common and said this: "The vision of the new Boston must extend into Roxbury. Boston must be a testing ground for the ideals of freedom." Dr. King's challenge is as real today as it was that day in 1965. So we will honor his legacy with a memorial, and we will honor his legacy by his living his values, by fighting inequality, by sharing opportunity, by building a Boston for everyone. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and God bless the city of Boston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure you'll have a lot of support in this room for that initiative to build the statue to Martin Luther King. We're going to open it up to questions. Please identify who you are, wait for a microphone to come by, and please also remember that a question ends with a question mark. I'll kick it off by probing the Amazon initiative a little bit more. I know that here in Boston we love competition, and there's been a great deal of interest among companies from all over the country and indeed the globe in what's going on in Boston. We mentioned a couple that just recently announced their relocation, and GE, and we competed for Aetna. We always seem to be in the game. And we appreciate your reaching out to Amazon through this speech. But give us a little more insight, Mayor. Give us some discussion about what it's going to take to do this, maybe some discussion about locations. People are talking about public funding and things like that. What's it going to take to get Amazon in Boston?
Thank you, Jimmy, for the question. I'm not going to really answer it too much for you, but there's a few people over in those tables working really hard at it every single day. But I think that, you know, when Amazon put the RFP out, and we all saw it a couple weeks ago, an interesting RFP because it was very specific in a number of jobs, 50,000 jobs, $5 billion of infrastructure and construction that's going to happen. So we are going to be, I think, as competitive. I'm not sure exactly what Amazon process is, but we have to submit an application by the 19th. As you read in the paper and see in reports, there's other parts of the Commonwealth as well putting together some applications as well. But I feel strong about Boston's opportunity here because of our workforce, because of our business climate, because of many of you in this room. And I think that I think the success that we were able to achieve with attracting General Electric to the city of Boston, some of that same recipe can be used for bringing Amazon. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say to you right now.
All right, I tried. Questions for the mayor? Right here, Nab. We have a microphone on the way. Always recognize your board chair first.
Mayor Walsh, we would like to thank you for an absolutely amazing job you have done over the last 4 years, not only here, but at the national stage. And you've spent quite some time with the national mayors, and everybody around the country is talking about you. As you talk to the national mayors, what are they saying? What is the top thing on their mind as you are in closed room chats with them?
I think, you know, national mayors have a lot of the same concerns that we have. A lot of them are concerned about the work on the climate. A lot of them are concerned about economic development as well, and a lot of them are concerned about immigration. And I think the last move on DACA, which was very unclear what that means, is there are 800,000 people in our country that had protections of citizenship for the most part. That 97% of those folks are either working in school, in our military service. That will take a big impact in our country, and I think that the one thing that I would love to see the White House do is work closer with the mayors around America. We have an aggressive agenda. The U.S. Conference of Mayors is going to be hosting their 2018 conference meeting right here in Boston next year. So we're going to have an agenda that's important, but many of the mayors are concerned about immigration, economic development, and the climate, really the big issues that they're concerned about. And healthcare, obviously. Every time that the United States Senate gets together and talks about a new healthcare bill, that has devastating impacts on, think about Boston for a minute. We have the best hospitals in the world right here in our city, and we have many of them. Many of those cities and towns across America have a community hospital. They rely upon the Affordable Care Act to be able to provide insurance for people to go into the hospital to pay for that hospital. The impacts that repealing the Affordable Care Act would have, or changing it, not putting something stronger in place or something equal in place, will have devastating effects across America. They'll have bad effects here in Boston, but devastating effects across America.
Way down the back, I see a question.
Thanks, Jim.
Meg.
Meg Meinzer-Cohen, President of the Back Bay Association. Mayor, I know I speak for everyone in this room when I say thank you for shutting down the hate that wanted to march through the Boston Common when white supremacists wanted to demonstrate in the Boston Common. Is it your expectation that there are going to be future groups are going to use Boston as a platform for this type of speech? Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. And I want to just give a shout out to our public safety officials, leading off with our police department. Commissioner Evans and the Boston Police Department led the way, did an incredible job. They work with the state police, they work with MBTA, and they work with the State Office of Public Safety. Our EMS had to go in and respond to some situations inside there. I want to thank our EMS. Our Boston Fire Department, our Commissioner Joe Finn's here with us this morning, had to go and respond, so I want to thank them for their great work. I think that we're living in a world where protests are going to happen more frequently. It appears that after Boston, the free speech, so-called free speech rally, most of them around the country just didn't happen. But we always have to be prepared, I think. And I think that's why it gets to be concerned that we need more consistency out of Washington and less inconsistency so people don't feel that we're going to have this type of action every weekend. What made me proud that day is that we had about 40,400 people in Boston Common. 40,000 people marched to Boston Common. They held signs. When it was over, they went home. We had about 300 people, some causing harm and causing problems in the Common. So I really want to give credit to the 40,000 people. And I also want to give credit to the police department, because on that day, they were ordered to work. They had to give their day up. And many of them, the first ones that were in there, went into that Common without riot gear on. And they were hit with bottles and hit with things in their head. So again, I want to thank all of Boston for rising up in that particular case.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Sean Hennessy from Schneider Associates. Really exciting about next year's International Climate Summit. Can you drill down a little bit about where the idea came from, the reaction from the national community among the mayors and so forth, and what kind of help do you need from this community to help pull it off?
No, thank you. That's a great question. Where it came from was we were supposed to host in June the U.S.-China Climate Reduction Summit. Obviously, with the change in Washington, the importance of that summit kind of went by the wayside, and that summit wasn't held. Myself and Eric Garcetti, the mayor of LA, are still the representatives of the C40 for the United States of America. Even though technically the United States pulled out, we joined it as mayors. So we're going to be working with the C40 Climate Summit. We're going to be working with mayors from around America. We're going to be working with mayors around the world to bring folks here. So as we get through the next few months, we'll be unveiling what we're actually going to be discussing and talking about as a city. We haven't stopped, at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, we have not stopped talking about climate change, and we have not stopped moving forward. As you heard in our speech today, we talked about being carbon neutral by 2050. We're talking about doing retrofitting on our buildings. We're talking about continually working on climate change. We talked today about building a park along the 4-Point Channel in downtown Boston. We're going to continue to move forward on climate preparedness and climate ready. And at the conference, what we're going to be talking about is really making sure that we can continue the goals that we've set as a country and the goals that other countries have set in the world. And really, in a lot of ways, when it comes to climate resiliency and climate change, we're not the leader as a country in that space. A lot of other countries are, so we're still trying to catch up on that. So we're going to be sharing best practices, and trust me, I'll be reaching out to the business community on how you can help me with this summit.
Right here? Oh, over here. Put that hand way up. There you go.
I guess just on the same vein, my name's Caitlin Drown. I'm from Teak Media and Communications down in Southie. We're really seeing that the federal government isn't prioritizing climate action.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Just slow down a little bit, because the microphone, I'm not hearing that. It's coming out of here like, if you don't
Sure. So the federal government isn't prioritizing climate action, and cities are really stepping up to the plate. I guess on a similar vein to this previous question, what can the cities, the businesses of the city do, especially the smaller businesses? What role do you foresee them playing in the climate action in the future?
Oh, we see, you know, the majority of our businesses in our city are small businesses, and we did a report, our Office of Economic Development did a report. Small businesses can play a huge role in our cities in the future of the economy. I want to say the numbers of 50,000 jobs, $5 billion, something to that effect. I think I'm looking for John Barrows for a number. 50,000 small businesses in the city of Boston employing how many thousands of people? 200,000 people. So small businesses play a big impact. If you're looking to say, how can we get tied into the city of Boston, we have our Office of Economic Development, and within that office, we have a special division for small businesses. So I would encourage all the small businesses to contact the city of Boston on, number one, offering your help and what you would like to do to help, but number two, giving us suggestions on how we can make the business climate in Boston even friendlier. Because we want to encourage businesses, we want to encourage startups, large and small, not just attract businesses. And let me just say this. I think it's great that we're attracting businesses from other places to move to the city of Boston. But I can tell you this, the city of Boston and my administration will not forget the companies that are here and have been here. Those are the businesses that are bread and butter. Those are the businesses that in bad economic times employ people. Those are the businesses that were the first to the table to give young people jobs or make a donation to our schools. So I'll always be grateful for those businesses that are in this room that started here a long time ago. So don't think because we're chasing all these other companies that we don't love you. We love you more than anyone. So just thank you.
Right in the middle of the room.
Hello, Mayor. My name is Carol Bullman. I'm the CEO of Jack Conway Realtor. We're happy to say we just opened up our 30th location in the Seaport area of Boston. So good to see you. Thank you for your words and for your leadership today. With the immense growth in the Seaport and the South Boston area of Boston and all the plans for housing, which is fabulous, could you expand on plans for a viable water transportation opportunity to move people in and around the Boston using the Boston Harbor?
My first 3 months as mayor, we had two companies that were water shuttles on the Boston Harbor, two main companies. One went out of business. They went out of business, I don't think because there was too much business. I think they went out of business because there wasn't enough business. And I really see an opportunity. I was at dinner the other night at Del Frisco's, and I was watching this boat going from Del Frisco's over to Charlestown, back, going over to East Boston and back. And every time the boat left the pier, it was full of people taking him over, and it was full of people coming back. So I think that with the creation of the East Boston waterfront and the restaurants there, I think as long as we put real connection points inside the harbor, I think we can have a real robust transit system in the harbor. I don't think we're fully there yet, and I still think we have to do some work. We have to work with our partners at Massport. We have to work with our partners at the state and also in the harbor. But I think we're getting close to that system. In Boston, we have a mindset, I think, of taking cars everywhere. You know, even though the MBTA at certain times has problems, most days it's reliable. Most days it's on time. Most days we don't hear the concerns of the MBTA. So what we need to do is start to get people thinking outside the box and start thinking public transportation more. And I think that that's one of the problems that we have with water transportation. I think the millennials will take it. I don't think the old-time residents, and I'll put myself in that category, will necessarily comfortable yet taking water transportation around the harbor. And I think we have to get that more reliable. And I think once that happens, we'll see more of it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor. As you know, the Chamber of Commerce does not endorse candidates for elective office, but thank you for doing such a great job. Thank you for your partnership with the business community, and we look forward to seeing you here again next year. So I'm going to ask the young professionals that will be joining John Barrows to go to the second floor Griffin Robinson room and be there by 9:15. Thank you all for coming. Have a great day.